Experiment with your fear every day on purpose. It will change your life. It's my 5-second rule. And Mel's on the cover of my book. It's my 5-second rule. Like literally play with it, dance with it, hang with it, rock with it, vibe with it, get to know your fear, make it your homeboy, but do it every day on purpose and just watch your tolerance for pain change. And guys, I'm even talking about the pain that can sometimes be other people's opinions. Like this is your life. Listen, we get so worried. Here's the add-on to it. We get so worried about what other people think. We don't want people to judge us or not like us or make fun of us. And here's the cold hard truth. People already don't like you. People are already judging you. And people are already making fun of you. Can I get an amen? So the question is who are you living this baby short one precious life for, man? Just move and do it on your own terms and play with it every day. It being fear every day on purpose.
Welcome my guest, Judi Holler. She is a keynote speaker, podcaster, best-selling author, and entrepreneur who imagines a world where the word regret has been eliminated from the conversation. Judi is a fire starter, an energy shifter, and an ultimate hype woman, moving audiences to take massive action in their lives and businesses. She empowers audiences to take a break from the limiting beliefs, face their fears, and raise their overall frequency. For the last decade, Judi has built an enterprise that includes a robust keynote speaking business, a top 1% podcast on iTunes, and a publishing arm that has created a line of personal development products that has gotten the attention of clients such as Four Seasons, Ford Motor Company, Marriott, Bank of America, and so many more. Judi's professional accomplishments have earned her the praise of Forbes and Success Magazine mentions. Additionally, her podcast, Yes and with Judi Holler, highlights her professional improv training as alumni of Second City's Conservatory in Chicago. Also, she is a best-selling author of the book Fear is My Homeboy: How to Slay Doubt, Boss Up, and Succeed on Your Own Terms. All right, so I have the honor of bringing on Judy Holla. Am I saying it right, by the way?
You can say, please, yes. I mean, I was literally born with that name. That is not my married name. That is the name I was born with, and it is Holler, just like the verb. But you can call me Holla all day long. I am here for it.
I just had to say that way. But Judi, it is such a pleasure to have you on the show. So today, the topic we're going to go into is one that everybody can relate to, and no one is absent from, and that topic is fear. And I know, Judi, you are the perfect one to talk about this subject. As we know, we all feel fear, and none of us are absent of it, as I mentioned. So let's talk about how people actually use it to their advantage. So if you could start with this, how can we begin to reframe fear and use it to our advantage opposed to letting it limit us more in life?
Here's the thing. I really believe that if you are afraid, it is a great clue that you're probably doing it right. Because, one thing I know to be true is that when you are about to do something big, like maybe it's stepping on stage or it's scheduling a call with your book publisher if you want to publish a book, like or maybe you're sending a pitch or picking up the phone and making a sales call, like right before you do the thing that could potentially change you, fear is always the strongest. And here's what we need to know about fear. Fear has one job and one job only. And this is going to answer your question. Fear is so basic and so boring. It does one thing every day. It tries to stop you. So knowing this is really powerful because it means you hold the power. You hold the antidote. The antidote is movement. If fear's job is to stop you, then we must keep moving. And I think so many of us get caught up into this unrealistic notion of like, oh my God, if it's not a big seismic shift, or if I'm not taking a massive leap, it's not big enough and I'm not doing enough. No, it's the small, everyday, brave things you do that help you keep moving. And remember, your job is to move. And this is why fear is always strongest at the finish line, because when you do the thing, when you get on the call with your publisher, when you step on stage, when you hit send on the email, like, you'll change. Fear doesn't want you to change. So fear comes in hot at the finish line to like stop you. So that, I think, is where we have to start. Because me understanding that and really sitting with it and understanding that that's what fear is here to do, well then cool. Now I've got some power in this situation. And I just got to keep moving. I got to keep moving.
That message alone is truly so powerful. We could just end the podcast right now. And
did we just drop the
conclude.
podcast mics?
Yeah, that
shortest podcast in the history of podcasts.
Yeah. So I mean, just that message alone, that fear is there to stop us, but the best thing we could do, and the antidote for that, is moving forward regardless of all the fear that you feel. And I remember, actually, when you were talking about this, I remember talking about like the finish line, but I remember when I made the big commitment to drop a good size, like a good amount of money on this new idea. And this was having a plush doll made of our children's book that we have. And I remember, like, I don't know if this is going to sell. This is the first time doing it. Like, can we sell $250? And it wasn't even that big, but still $250 you don't want to sit on, and you're investing a good amount. So I remember when I just paid that amount, I just had to go forward in faith, opposed to like that fear, what if I can't sell it, instead of like thinking I could possibly sell $250 and build this brand. And so I think that's so powerful, is like when you make a big commitment, such as like investing money, which that's why they say, like, when you don't invest in things, usually you won't do it, because there's not enough driving.
There's no skin in the game.
Yeah, exactly. So true.
The stakes have to be high. I love that. And something else you said, I think, is really important here, because, okay, you've got this, you make this investment, you buy these $250, and you do have to go, okay, here we are. And I'm clearly here for a reason. So there's got to be some level of faith, but there also, has to be a plan. And I think, the big misnomer, my background's in the improv theater. So, my book and everything I write about as it relates to fear comes from this deep, sort of education that I got in the improv theater. And one of the things I think people get really confused about, with us improvisers, and improv, by the way, is a form of live theater for those of you that don't know. And what makes improv different is that we have no script, right? So we sort of make it up as we go, and we use our training. We get suggestions from the audience, and we use our training to succeed on stage without a script. Hi, terrifying, okay? But we use our training to do this. So it really made me reframe fear. And the reason I'm bringing this up and coming back to the dolls is that people think that because we're improvisers, we just wing it. Like, we just, oh, Judy, she's cool. She can, oh, girl, you can just come on the stage and do your keynote, right? Like, you can just wing it, right? I'm like, no. Actually, improvisers are some of the most prepared people you'll ever meet. And it's our preparation that allows us to give it to God, to surrender, to trust in something bigger, right? So when you were talking, that was like my knee-jerk reaction. I'm like, I'm sitting here listening to you going, yeah, of course she's going to trust. But I bet, Erica, you had a plan. Like, 100%. You probably were prepared. You're out there putting yourself out there and asking for what you want, and, selling and marketing and telling the story and pitching, right? So it doesn't mean, action. Again, action is the antidote. And so we never want to, there's this big analogy out in the personal development space. And I know you've heard it, Erica, where it's like, oh, just leap, honey, and the net'll catch you. The universe, it's going to catch you. Now, listen, I have a deep faith, and I know good things are happening for me. And I believe I am right where I'm supposed to be. But you bet your bottom dollar, I got a plan, and I got a plan A, and a plan B, and a plan C, and a plan D, right? Because right, we have to prepare. We have to ask for what we want, and we have to take that confident action while believing that we're worthy and ready for all of it. So there's a little bit of a combo, right? Those dolls aren't just going to move themselves, baby.
100%. And that's what, one thing I really leaned on last year was this, and it's funny because this is your podcast name. Yes. And so
yes, babe.
I really believe sometimes we just need to say yes. And because we say yes, that puts us into then preparing ourselves to succeed in the best way possible. Because we're not just going to go yes and jump in. We're going to be like, yes, and we're going to prepare to set ourselves up for success. So yes, in reference to the dolls, it's like, of course I had to figure out some things before I said yes to it. Like I had to prepare for that yes, but I also on the other side of saying yes and committing my money, I now needed to prepare myself for what's next. So yes, and
Yes. Yes. And it's the first thing we learn in the improv theater, and you nailed it. You nailed it. Like, yes is getting you in the game. Yes is acceptance. It is, I hear you. I see you. Yes, I want to make these dolls. Yes, I want to start that business. Yes, I want to write a book. And is you moving down the field. Great. Now that I've got the ball, how am I moving it down the field? So, and is like, what's the next thing I'm going to do? What's the first thing I'm going to do? And I think where people get stuck is they get so overwhelmed. Like, okay, let's use the podcast example. Yes, I want to start a podcast. And okay, now I'm frozen. I'm overwhelmed and I don't know what to do because there's so many things. And then there's a producer and it costs money. And how do I get guests? But what do I do? And how do I write it? Where do I organize? Like your brain starts spiraling. Oh, I need art. How am I going to create my graphics? Like, oh, okay, great. Boom. Come back to the lesson. Yes, you want to start a podcast. And what's the next thing you could do? Cool. Maybe the next thing you could do is build a plan. Sit down and brain dump everything that you need to do to start a podcast, and then start prioritizing those things, then pick the first thing and just go do the first thing. So that's one of the things I always say from the keynote stage. I'm like, the improv theater is not about the best thing. Like, I need you to actually move faster and be less perfect, because the improv theater is all about the next thing. Like, what am I doing to make her look amazing on stage, to keep the scene moving forward, to keep it moving, right? Instead of being the person who like blocks the action or stops the show or becomes like the cog in the wheel, you know what I mean? Yeah. And yes, but, and no, become brick walls, not just in an improv theater, but certainly in business and in life.
It's so good how you laid that out, because and bringing up the podcast thing, for example, this is why, when I started my podcast, actually, I'm coming up celebrating 4 years in a moment here.
Oh my God, 4 years, yeah. Erica, 4 years. That's amazing. These are like little businesses. It is no small feat.
It's a full-time job. Yes.
It's a full-time job. I'm like, I'm running a little podcast business, got my speaking business, got my course business. Like, there's a lot of businesses going on, but you're right. It is. Yeah. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. But what I was going to say is, when I first started it, it was like, oh my gosh, all the things, like, wow, this is overwhelming. Like, I need to figure out this. But, once I kind of walked myself through the steps, because I was addressing each step, like, instead of like getting overwhelmed by the full picture, I was like, okay, I'll do this, and then I'll do this, and then I'll do this. And then I think about a year ago, I launched a simple course because I really wanted people to like simplify the steps and not get so overwhelmed by the process of starting a podcast. So I have something called the podcast playbook, so you don't get overwhelmed by the process of all the things, right? And so that's the thing, is I think sometimes when we have this big audacious goal, that alone stops us in our tracks because it's so overwhelming. And so as even the Navy SEALs say, they say like one small task every single day to drive you forward. It's not thinking about the end goal, but the little tasks you could do every day to drive you forward. And I think that's critical. So let's talk about what led you into talking about fear, because I know, you could touch on this deeper about improv. Like, I'm curious, what even got you interested to go into improv? And then also, because you weren't doing that as your main career. I believe it was just correct me if I'm wrong, it was relatively a hobby maybe you went after, or was there you wanted to get into theater and improv? So.
Yeah, it was a total, like, I had just moved to Chicago. I had a big career in the hospitality and meeting space. So I was working for large hotel companies. I was opening the Omni Dallas at the time, and, just had this big career in sales and marketing working for hotel companies, and was really working in the meetings and events space specifically. And so I got a promotion. I moved from St. Louis to Chicago, and here I am. I'm like single. I'm new to a city, and Chicago, my God, I've loved Saturday Night Live my whole life. I've loved comedy. I've loved performance. So I'm like, I have to go I don't have a ton of friends. So I'm like, let me just go take a level A improv class and go see what's up, because I'd regret it if I didn't do it, right? So I sign up and I tell this story in my book, but it's one of my signature stories I tell in my keynote speech called Everyday Improviser. So I'll give you the cliff notes of it. I pay the fee, the full fee, the non-refundable fee for the entire semester. Okay. I get all the way to Second City. Like, I walk there from my apartment in Lincoln Park to Old Town. I get to the building. I literally stand in front of the classroom door, and I never went in the first time. I actually quit, surrendered the money, and walked out of that building with my tail between my knees because I was so afraid at the time that I was too old. So I'm sure there's someone listening right now who feels too old to do something. I was 30, which now feels like a little baby Judy. Okay. But at the time I felt like an ancient fossil. I thought everyone was going to make fun of me, and all these kids were trying to be on Saturday Night Live. And who did I think I was? And I was so scared, and I'm not even funny. And like, get me out of here. Did I mention I'm too old? So the question becomes, okay, wouldn't it be great if we could stop doing that, right? Like, stop quitting on ourselves, stop missing opportunities, all of that. So about 2 years later, so I quit. And, 2 years later, I end up re-signing up for the class. And one of the questions I get a lot is, well, Judy, hold on, before you tell us that part, what made you go back? So if you are in a place where you are stuck right now, or you are in doubt, or you are in overwhelm, squat up. I had a really great group of women and leaders and mentors around me. I was listening to and reading the right books and the right podcasts. Like, I was literally kind of becoming a student to something bigger than me, really listening to thought leaders on reframing fear, people like Seth Godin and, my goodness, Elizabeth Gilbert and Brene Brown and, my gosh, Stephen Pressfield. Like, so these people became my teachers. So I'm like, okay, 2 years later, here we go. So I paid the fee, the full fee, the non-refundable fee. I signed up for the improv class. Once again, I walk all the way back to the building, but this time, Erica, I opened the door. Mm-hmm. And what's so cool is when I tell that story, I end up showing a photo. I have a photo of my very first improv ensemble at Second City. Okay. And so this photo comes up on the screen, and I'm like, you guys remember my big fear? Because I ended up studying at Second City for 7 years. Like, I auditioned for the conservatory, the professional program, got in, stayed in, quit my job, wrote a book, started a business, like, all that's great. And then I say to the audience, I go, but hold up, y'all, that's cool. But that's not the best part of the story. And I'm like, you remember what my big fear was? And they're like, yeah, you thought you were too old at 30. And I'm like, boom, look at this photo on the screen. So I show my first ensemble, and I circle the faces of Shelly and Frank. The first person I saw was a woman named Shelly, who at the time was a 55-year-old University of Chicago professor, taking improv to like think on her feet in the classroom. And then in the back, there's a guy named Frank, who was a 52-year-old sales guy, just taking improv to like be a more confident presenter. So the moral of the story, that moment, it changed everything for me, Erica. It's how the book was born, because that moment reminds me every single day that sometimes all it takes is 3 seconds of courage. 3 seconds. Opening a door, picking up the phone, asking for what you want. You know what I mean? It could be that small, and you can change your life. So now I'm addicted to that. I'm on the hunt for that,
So Mel Robbins, 5 seconds, right? She wrote a whole
the
book
5-second
on
rule.
Yes. I mean, that's so true that, for example, cold plunges. Like, this is a good example. It's like, nobody wants to get into a cold plunge.
No, I've never done one. That is on my list. I have to face that fear.
You got to do it.
To face it.
Yes.
I have to face it.
Yeah.
Do you do them regularly? Are you doing them regularly?
I used to do the cold showers regularly, but we don't have an ice bath. I've done an ice bath twice, but when we move to our next home, we're going to get an ice bath, and we're going to do it every day. Yes.
Okay. I love
it. But the 5 seconds, like, if you do that, exactly, nobody wants to get in, but if you just count down, or 3 seconds, whatever it may be, it's like, you just go. Like, when you say, like, when you hit that, countdown, you just go like
Yeah,
nothing
it's one
stops you.
small brave
Powerful.
move. It's not all the brave moves. I didn't need to understand improv. I didn't need to have a bunch of friends in the room. I didn't need to know anything. I just needed to open the door. I just needed to like put my hand on the handle and turn the knob, right? Like,
Love it.
so, it's those small micro moments that just really make big changes, whether it's something new you've got to do or something you're trying to jolt yourself into. Yeah, it's just, again, if fear's job is to stop us, we've got to keep moving. So exactly, Erica. Like that kind of became my dance with fear and my obsession with it, because I started to realize and here's the big flashpoint, because I was getting so much wrong information. I thought I needed to be fearless.
Right.
And that is some bullshit. That's what we're telling people, especially women. Like, oh, we need to be fearless. Oh, there's fearless t-shirts and bumper stickers and books. And I hate that word, because I think if you were really fearless, you do all kinds of crazy stuff. I need you to be brave, not fearless. There's this line in, have you read Elizabeth Gilbert's book called Big Magic?
No, but I know which book you're talking about.
Oh my God. Okay. This book is amazing. That's the book I was reading, by the way, on my honeymoon when I penned Fear is My Homeboy in the margins.
Yeah, I read that in your book. I love
you
that
did.
story.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So she says this, she goes, listen, the only fearless people I know are 5-year-olds and sociopaths. So fearless isn't the goal. Brave is, right? Brave. And the only way you get brave is by playing with it, by dancing with it. Like I want a better relationship with my spouse. You better date him. You better date her. You want to be creative and become a better writer? You better sit down with your writing. You better go do creative stuff. Well, if we want to be braver, why don't we date our fear? Like, why aren't we hanging out with it? Like, why aren't we riding with it? And so every day I'm always challenging myself to do something uncomfortable, right? Even if it's trying a new food or going on camera on a Zoom, if I'm not hate it, that's not really me because we're on Zooms all the time, but maybe it's wearing a new color or listening to new music or saying no to something because and really saying no to it because I don't want to do it. Right. So I'm always looking for ways. I think one of the most important questions I ask myself every morning is okay, cool. Here's my schedule. Here's all the stuff I got to do today. Great. How am I going to remix that? Where am I playing it way too safe? What is one thing? Could I send an email today that makes me uncomfortable? Could I pick up the phone and actually make a sales call? Go old school here, right? What can I do to pour a little courage onto these everyday tasks so that I can work my muscle? Every day I'm trying to work the muscle, you know what I mean? And I've increased my tolerance for pain because of it. And that's the secret, because now I move faster and I don't fear what people are going to think. I don't care if I get it wrong. I'm like, cool, I got it wrong. Boom. What did I learn?
Yes.
What are we going to iterate? How am I going to improvise? And what are we going to do next? Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a game.
I love to say fail fast, fail forward. And that's the whole, the gist of it is okay, I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to fail, but or reframe. I'm going to learn from this. And what could I do differently the next time? So keep failing forward. Yeah. You talk about this too, how reframing the whole, instead of fear less is how could I fear less by doing this, by being more brave. And I love that. I remember when I got my partner, I got his daughter a necklace that said fearless. And I remember thinking fast forward, I was like, that was not the necklace to get her. I'm like, because exactly. I'm like that. I now totally rest in that statement that fear less is bullshit and that we just have to learn to fear less and be more brave. And so
it's fear less. That should be the twist on it, right? It's almost like there needs to be another fear in the word. Instead of fearless, it's fearless. That's what we're really trying to do. Yeah. Not be fearless. And that's the thing I get asked a lot on interviews or in Q&As, okay, what is something about you that people would be surprised to know? What would they be surprised to know? And I'm like, that I am one of the biggest fraidy cats you will ever meet in your entire life. And I think that's what makes me qualified to speak about fear, because I am facing it every single day. So I am by no means, I'm scared of so many things. I just now know how to move faster, be less perfect. I have a higher tolerance for pain. And I also have a really strong regret meter, right? I don't think, if you don't want to jump out of a plane, like if you're 85 years old and you are like, and you will, if you're going to be 85 one day and you're like, I will regret never jumping out of that plane, then babe, you got to jump out of the plane. But if I will be 85 years old and I will never lose sleep over not jumping out of a plane. I have no desire. I could care less, but a tattoo, I was like, oh, I would regret it if I didn't get this. I had this tattoo in my heart, but I was so scared to do it. And I did it because I'm like, I knew I'd regret it if I didn't do it. Right. So, those are just two like kind of relatable examples, but it's okay. Are you going to regret not making this move? And if you're going to regret it, you probably need to give it a go. Right. But if you won't regret it, who cares? Don't do it.
That is the greatest measure. And I think that somebody, if they were to pause for 1 second, be like, am I going to regret this if I don't do it? And I remember I had the guest, I don't know if you know of Jen Cohen. She talks about being bold, and I should connect to you too, but she talks about being bold and that her measure is that I rather have the discomfort of doing something that I'm afraid to do, and that temporary pain and failing, that temporary pain, than having a lifelong regret. And that's so powerful and so true. It's like, that's the biggest thing. Like when people die, right, is like, I regret this, I regret that, so that's a great measure to what we continue forward in.
I mean, we literally have this on the homepage of my website. It says, I've learned, and it's right next to my photo. It says, I've learned what's worse than the temporary pain of discomfort is the avoidable pain of regret. You know what I mean? Like, that is great. Like her and I, we would be soul sisters, because that is like at the essence of like the work. It's like, you can avoid regret. You can avoid it. You really can. And I'd rather have the temporary pain of discomfort than like this, completely nagging, what could have been avoidable pain of regret when it's really too late, because right now it's not too late,
Yeah. It's like one of those, like, just to imagine if I was man and I saw a woman that I wanted to approach, and I'm like, gosh, she's like, just look how she presents herself.
Yeah.
Like, she's magnetic, whatever. And then I was so afraid and felt like, oh, maybe I'll get denied or whatnot. And I never approached her. Yeah. And then I'd never see her again. And like, that's like regret, like, to imagine all that. So I think that is the greatest measure. And so you've been practicing this, brave muscle for a long time. So let's talk to the people that might be, fear is holding them back from doing the darn thing, being a keynote speaker, doing a podcast, being an author, and all these dreams that are on their heart, or just the everyday, like making that phone call, sending that email, confronting somebody, saying no to something. What would you recommend to move forward anyways? I like to ask this question, like, how would you recommend people lead in faith over following their fears?
I love the question. I think people assume that you have to be confident to go do brave, new, scary things. And it's actually the doing of new, brave, scary things and prevailing that makes you more confident. So, it's a muscle. Like you work out in the gym to lift weights. Like you could do all the cardio you want, but let's be clear. You're going to get strong when you pick up weights. Okay. So what I want you to do is pick up weights, the weights of discomfort every single day. And we call these, I write about it in the book, they're called fear experiments. So every day, like I said, I'm always looking at my schedule, my day, and I'm challenging myself to get uncomfortable every day. Keywords here, on purpose, in order to get more comfortable in uncomfortable situations. And so it's like you take your vitamins. This is a vitamin. Okay. We're taking vitamin Brave. I've never said that before, but that's what it felt right now. So we are taking vitamin B, okay? Vitamin B for brave. And we are going to do the brave thing instead of the safe thing most chances we get every day. And then all of a sudden one day you're going to wake up and go, oh, damn, like I've got to go on this interview, or like, so this is what happened to me at Second City. So I am running these reps. I am dancing with discomfort 5-6 nights a week in the improv theater. By day, I'm doing this big corporate sales and marketing job. So I was learning how to flex. It's so scary to do improv. It is so uncomfortable. There is so much failure. You embarrass the heck out of yourself. You get it wrong. Nobody shows up for your show. People don't laugh. Like oh my God, you literally have to face fear every step of the way. So that was really like sort of building my tolerance. So then by day, like I do this at night and have like a horrible show at a sandwich shop. And I'm like, okay, listen, if I can do that, like I can definitely boss up in this boardroom, and I'm going to ask the first question. I'm going to go talk to my boss today. Oh, you know what? We've got a new senior vice president in town. I'm going to walk on down there and introduce myself, right? Like, oh, I'm going to raise my hand. And you know what? We have this big annual conference. I'm going to lead a breakout because I've learned some cool things. I'm going to ask for a stage. I'm going to go write an article. I'm going to see if I can get myself in like the hotel newsletter because I've learned something really great. So I started just like asking for what I wanted and putting like, I'd go on dates and I'd put myself out there and I'd leave shitty dates when they were bad, right? Like I would get myself in situations and I'd get myself out of situations a lot faster than before the improv, because I was just really, playing with it so much. And I said, well, maybe that's the unlock. Maybe this is what I need to be really writing about, because for so long, I just hadn't been facing my fear. I just wasn't even looking at it. Actually, I was trying to do everything I could to avoid it, like to keep myself real safe, because I did not want to come in fear's way, which is the essence and the exact opposite of, well, it's the essence of what it means to, be fearless, right? You sort of like avoid fear, which isn't realistic. And then the whole intention behind my book title, Fear is My Homeboy, is like, no, actually, it needs to become my most trusted ally. Like it needs to become my best friend. It needs to be my ride or die here, because my future really depends on me figuring this out. And if I run from it and don't face it, well, then what's going to happen here? So I guess the long answer, I mean, you guys, you have to dance with it. You have to play with it. Like date your fear, hang out with your fear, make fear your homeboy, like conduct these daily fear experiments, be in the lab, find ways every day to flex the muscle, take your vitamin B. Okay. Vitamin C for courage, vitamin B for brave, right? Vitamin A for audacity. Oh, she's got the audacity. Yes. I mean, we could find every letter of the alphabet to talk about all the vitamins you need to be taking that will make you braver. But I just think so many times we don't take the medicine and then we wonder why life has passed us by.
100%. So many of us let the fear really drive our next move forward, right? So we're putting fear in the driver's seat opposed to us being in the driver's seat and possibly putting fear in the passenger seat, right?
Yes,
and I love this analogy because it's so right. Like you said, you have to befriend it. Fear's always going to exist in all of our lives. Like it is not, unless, like you said, unless you're a psychopath, you are not fearless. So it's always going to be with you there. But if it's in the passenger seat, it's not leading you. You are directing your life, but you're letting fear possibly be there, like questioning, like, why are you here? Maybe I should, befriend you and understand you more, because there is a reason what you're possibly a lesson I need to learn from that. And that's what I think the great reframe or the mindset around fear is like, it's here to teach me something. It's here to possibly, because this is the direction I should go. I fear this for a reason. This is my next becoming, if you want to say, the next version of who I'm meant to be on the other side of the fear. As they always say, you don't grow in your comfort zone, you grow outside of it. And so it's so powerful, to be honest, when you reframe it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you picked up on that. And yeah, I agree. Couldn't agree more.
What I was going to say is I love this line. I think I read in your book. I can't remember if I read this in your book of Fear is My Homeboy. You state the braver you are, the more authentic you become. And that's, I love that statement in itself, because I think that's so right on, is like the more you say what you feel in your heart to say, the more you step into a space that you feel that that you want to be in, the more that you write the first line to your book or whatnot, the more you are becoming the person you're meant to be, the person you feel most aligned to be. And I think that's such a beautiful statement that I think, in the process of being brave, the more authentic we become.
I love it. I love that you picked up on that. And I think, yes, I wish they'd teach that in school. I think there's this other lie that floats around, to your point about, telling people to fake it until they make it. And what happens when we fake it until we make it, we end up attracting people to a fake version of who we are and who we think we want to be, because we're just sort of phoning it in. And listen, we're on entrepreneurship. Like 9 times out of 10, you are flying the plane and putting the wings on at the same time. So yes, we do not have it all figured out, but boy, you better be you sooner than later. So I'm in the camp of let's make it until we make it. We just got to keep moving. We just got to keep building. We just got to keep growing. But the sooner you can, chapter 1 of my book is called Love Yourself on Purpose. The sooner you can love yourself, the sooner you can stay convicted into like, okay, this is who I am. This is how I roll. This is how I vibe. This is what I like. This is what I listen to. This is who I am. And I'm going to be unapologetic about that. The sooner you find your people, and I did this for so long, certainly in my corporate speaking career, I was so afraid. I was like corporate Barbie forever. Like I was so afraid to really be myself that because I was like, no one's going to hire me. Like if people knew I liked 90s hip hop, or if I, insert a million things, right? Like no one would hire me, or no one would take me seriously, all these things. The second I started like letting it go a little bit and, taking off some of the armor and just sort of slowly starting to like share a little bit more about who I am and what I do and infusing it into my work, I found my people. I started having a lot more fun. And all of it. So, let's reframe the way we think about authenticity by making it until we make it. And the sooner you do this, the braver you get is right, because you get this living proof that, oh my God, they like me. They really like me. And it's okay. And some people won't. And that's okay too. But if you like you, everything's going to be okay. I mean, that's the last thing I say to myself before I get on any stage. I do like a power pose backstage. Okay. And with a little something high vibe in my ear, good song, like usually it's Unstoppable by Sia. I say thank you for the gift of being able to do this work that I love so much in this world. And then the last thing I say to myself before I hit any stage is I love you. Like no matter what happens up there, babe, you got you got a lot of people that love you, but you love you. And like, I love you. Like, I'm proud of you and I love you. Right. And that is just such a beautiful way to like, no matter what happens out here, like no matter what happens, I could fall off this stage, but I'm going to be okay. Right. I'm going to be okay. And I think that is just such a powerful reframing. And I don't know.
I love it.
It's important.
I love it. Okay, so I know through all the things you've done, I'm sure you've experienced imposter syndrome. So many people do. When you step into something new that you've never done or people don't know you as, you're like, I'm an imposter. Like,
totally.
And I know you did improv, so it kind of probably set you up to be a keynote speaker. But if you were speaking to somebody that wants to step into keynote speaking or speaking in general, what would be your best recommendation if they're feeling imposter syndrome? They've never done it before. So what would be your advice, or what did you learn through your own process?
Oh my God, I love this. Do you know I'm literally launching a course this month to answer this exact question? Perfect. It's my first course. Talk about imposter syndrome. It's tentatively, I think we're going to call it Speaker School, Step on Stage and Shine. And there's really 3 modules. And we're talking about building a speaking business, stepping on stage. Like, what do you do when you get on stage? And then what happens on the other side of the stage? Like, what's the legacy? And one of the very first things we're going to talk about is fear. So whether you are someone who wants to speak professionally, like, listen, I want to get as many women on stage. I've been speaking full time for a decade. Wow. I have learned a lot. I have failed a lot. I have also had some epic wins. I'm like, why did nobody tell me this? This would have helped me so much with my fear, with my preparation, because it is scary. And, I'm a professional keynote speaker and I still get nervous. And I always say to people, don't trust someone who says they're not nervous. I don't know. The second I get like, either you're lying or you need to get out of the game, because for me, my nerves mean I care. And it reminds me I am alive, right? And the great thing about it, while we're here, can you tell I'm passionate about this? Like the second you get your feet on the stage, your high heels on that stage, you get 60 seconds, 30 seconds into any talk, you're in too deep. Remember, fear wants to stop you. So once you move, you just have to move. You get so deep with momentum that you almost forget. It becomes this sort of transcendental experience, right? You sort of almost forget about time, space, and all of it because you're in too deep with action. So what I would say to the woman or person listening who has some imposter syndrome, specifically as it relates to getting themselves on a platform. Because listen, I don't care what you do for a living. If you have anything to say or sell, a platform's going to help you.
Yeah.
Like being able to speak on stage, find those stages, rock it when you do, and keep the conversation going after you get off stage. That is going to help you sell things in your business. It's going to help you grow your following. It's going to help you bring eyeballs into your work. Like it's just so important. But so many people don't do it because we don't feel ready.
Yes.
We don't feel worthy. And we think, well, who am I? And I'm not ready enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. Hello, what I was thinking before I opened that improv classroom at the age of 30. So I would say if you're feeling imposter syndrome, again, congratulations. You're doing it right. You've made it. Let's celebrate that, because I think we get so afraid of imposter syndrome when we get so mad that it shows up. I have flipped it. When imposter syndrome comes into my office before any interview, anything, like I literally talk to like fear, anxiety, self-doubt, self-sabotage, perfectionism, like all that, like as physical entities. So when imposter syndrome shows up, instead of me going, oh no, I feel like an imposter. Like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Which, by the way, guys, happens to me all the time, all the time. I now go, oh, imposter syndrome, you again. Oh, welcome back. Welcome back. Like you were so good. Do you ever take a day off? Like you're always here. Thank you for just being real good at your job. You are so good. But here's the deal. Like you haven't arrived in my office today. I've actually arrived, because I know if you're here, it means I know I'm ready. It means I know I'm ready for something big, because fear shows up to stop me. And you are away. Fear tricks me. Like that is a tool fear uses to stop you. Right? By the way, social media is a tool fear uses to stop you. Like seeing someone's fabulous Instagram feed or another woman on stage, like that is a tool to get in your head to make you feel like an imposter so that you don't make a move, right? It can be a dangerous, dangerous thing. So I speak to my imposter syndrome and I reframe it by essentially saying, if imposter syndrome's here, well, you know, something, I'm on the precipice of something big, because it means fear's here to stop me. And I know fear is strongest at the finish line. So I've got to put this course out into the world. Like I've got to go record the modules. Like I've got to market it. I've got to sell it. I've got to do it. And I've got to do it in my way, because I feel so scared of this. And I feel like such an imposter, even with a decade of experience, just taking my course, for example. I'm like, yep, that's how I know it's right. So like, again, congratulations. If you're afraid, you're on to something. If you feel like an imposter, you're on to something. Keep moving, keep listening, and just keep moving. Like it's in the reps, whether it's speaking on stage, you've been podcasting for 4 years. Your first episode probably feels a lot different than your 300th episode, right? My first speech, my first post, my first, anything. If you're not a little embarrassed of it, like you're probably not doing it right. You're waiting too long, right? So absolutely. I don't know. I think imposter syndrome is a clue that you're onto something. That's how I look at it.
I love that. And so I know obviously you're an author, speaker, podcaster, you have courses. Oh, by the way, when's that course launching? Just so
So we're going to open reg either April 22nd or the 24th. I don't know when this will come out, but is it going to be in that pocket of time?
I think so. So regardless, anybody listening, in the show notes, you'll have all the information to lead you to that course. So hopefully,
we'll be open for 2 weeks. Until it's an on-demand self-paced course. And you get access to me every month, by the way, in like a Q&A. So you get 6 months of me legit on Zoom, and then you get live. You pay once and it's yours forever. So, but we're only going to be open for, we're going on tour once a year. So for 2 weeks, we'll be open. So yeah.
Okay. Noted on time.
Yay. Okay. Oh my God. It's going to be so fun. We're really excited about it. Can you tell?
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. I think I know so many people would want to learn from you. So talking about all the things you do and what you've created, if you were to say, I know like the path you've been on is exactly the path you need to go on. But if you were to say, just knowing what you know now, would you say there's a certain thing possibly somebody should do first before the next thing? Or what's your opinion on that? Because you started with the keynote speaking. I assume after that you did the the book and then the podcast and then the courses, or I don't know the order, but what would you recommend if you were to say kind of the best approach if
Well, it
somebody wanted to
depends.
do all the things?
Yeah, it depends on what you want to create. I mean, I would think first it comes with like a plan, like getting clear. Like I'm in the camp of like bet on your strength. Like, what's that thing you do? What's your unfair advantage? You know what I'm saying? Like, I was a kid, like, I wasn't doing volleyball like in grade school. Like, even look back into your youth. If you're like, I don't even know what that thing is. Like, when I was in grade school, I was doing speech beats when my friends were like in not like debate. I'm like memorizing monologues and performing them and stacking up gold and blue ribbons, like winning regional competitions all over Missouri. So I was like a baby keynote speaker, like when my friends are playing like soccer and volleyball, you know what I mean? So like huge clue, went to school, radio, television, thought I was going to be like on the Today Show, Katie Couric. And then I fell in love with MTV and I wanted to be a VJ. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to go audition. And I completely bombed. It was epic, but I learned so much about myself. And then the world changed and I got into the meetings industry. And it all kind of came full circle because I started kind of coming back to myself. And even in my meetings career, the career in the hotel business, I loved sales calls. I loved presentations. I would crush it. I was a natural born salesperson because I could story tell. That word's so cheesy, but like, you know what I mean? Like I could find a way to use my gift of energy and storytelling to help people feel more comfortable in their decisions, but just to connect and to listen. And so I started like raising my hand to do more of that. And just, so I guess what is that unfair advantage you think you have? And how can you take that and go make something new with it? We're going to talk about this in speaker school, but like initially I started talking in my industry about personal branding. Like I was like a personal branding speaker. Okay. And then all of a sudden I started listening to what people were saying and I was doing it for free anywhere I could. Just, at industry conferences. So leverage what you have right in front of you. You like the industry you're already working in, what's kind of hiding in there. But I started listening to my audiences going, okay, all the questions are about people being afraid to post on LinkedIn or afraid to put their face on social media, afraid of what people were going to think. And I'm like, well, hold up. Here I am at Second City at night learning about fear. Maybe I mash the two together, make them have a baby and create something new. So it became like personal branding, improvised. I mashed those two together and then that created Fear as my homeboy. So I guess my answer to your question, and that's a hard one to answer because it depends on what someone's sort of business goal is. But first, get clear on what it is that you want. If you don't know where to start, go think about what you're natural at. Like, what do you do better than anyone else? What's the compliment you get all the time? What would you do for no money? Like, and if you don't know, go ask 10 people, 5 people at work, 5 people in your life and say, what am I really good at? Like, what do you think I'm like natural at? And you'll get clues and then figure out, okay, here are my clues. How can I take, so say for example, you want to say you're a real estate agent, like you're a real estate agent, but you also lift weights. How can you take those 2 things and make something new with them? Like maybe you are in finance, but you're also a refugee from Iran. Like those 2 things together make something new and original potentially. So I don't know. I just think there's clues hiding all over your life, but the goal is to start. But guys, I started as a personal branding speaker. If I wouldn't have started, I wouldn't have. And now I speak on courage in auditoriums. Like that's an evolution, but it began with the first talk on how to help people figure out Twitter, right? Like that's, you have to be, and I'm not even on Twitter anymore. Like, you know what I mean? So you have to begin and look for clues. And if you're lost, tap into your network or go back into your youth. Like go back into your youth. Yeah.
I love it. So beautifully said. And I just checked the time. So I have to ask you my last question.
Okay,
So, because I'm enjoying the conversation so much that I'm like, oh, so shoot. I know you have to run. But so I always ask my guests the last question, which is if you were, and you might have already shared it, but let's see what you come up with. If you were to share a piece of wisdom, a life lesson that you've learned in your journey, what would that one piece of wisdom be that you just feel everybody needs to hear right now?
Experiment with your fear every day on purpose. It will change your life. It's my 5-second rule. And Mel's on the cover of my book. It's my 5-second rule. Like literally play with it, dance with it, hang with it, rock with it, vibe with it, get to know your fear, make it your homeboy, but do it every day on purpose and just watch your tolerance for pain change. And guys, I'm even talking about the pain that can sometimes be other people's opinions. Like, this is your life. Listen, we get so worried. Here's the add-on to it. We get so worried about what other people think. We don't want people to judge us or not like us or make fun of us. And here's the cold hard truth. People already don't like you. People are already judging you. And people are already making fun of you. Can I get an amen? So the question is, who are you living this baby short one precious life for, man? Just move and do it on your own terms and play with it every day. It being fear every day on purpose, and you'll make. So just remember, keep moving.
Oh, so good. So good. I love just ending the episode with that powerful message. Thank you so much, Judy. This has been an honor. I so appreciate you. I know you have to run, but I just thank you for all the wisdom you shared today. And you are a firecracker. I just adore
Thanks,
you.
Erica.
So thank you for making the time.